Welcome to Defender's Voice. I am Paul Katupale. Hope you are doing well. Please visit us at www.drpaul.org. On our website, you can follow our blog, you can donate to this ministry, subscribe to our YouTube channel. In today's episode, let us see this question. Bill Maher says Western ideals came from atheism. Is this true? Excellent question. American comedian and HBO television host Bill Maher recently gave a strong defense of the Western civilization. He said the following, and you can actually watch the video on YouTube, but let me quote his words. For all the progressives and academics who refer to Israel as an outpost of Western civilization, like it is a bad thing, please note, Western civilization is what gave the world pretty much every blank liberal precepts that liberals are supposed to adore: individual liberty, scientific inquiry, rule of law, religious freedom, women's rights, human rights, democracy, trial by jury, freedom of speech. Please, somebody stop us before we enlighten again. The irony being that all marginalized people live better today because of Western ideals, not in spite of them. Martin Luther King Jr. used Henry David Thoreau's essay, Civil Disobedience, to help shape the civil rights movement. The cop who murdered George Floyd got 21 years for violating his Fourth Amendment rights, an idea we got directly from John Locke, who no one in college would ever study anymore because he is so old and so white and so dead. But it was the Western Enlightenment that gave rise to the notion that the law of the jungle should be curbed. Henry David Thoreau, John Stuart Mill, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, three named dudes. It was all about three named dudes. So Bill Maher first gave us the list of good things the Western civilization gave us, like individual liberty, scientific inquiry, rule of law, religious freedom, women's rights, human rights, democracy, trial by jury, freedom of speech. Then he said, they all came to us from secularism and atheism. As he called them the three named dudes, Henry David Thoreau, John Stuart Mill, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Jean-Jacques Rousseau gave us these values. Really? Actually, they did not give us those values. If they did, we would be in big trouble. Because human beings cannot invent universal human rights. We are so subjective and pliable species. Individual liberty is a belief. It is not a scientific truth. Similarly, equality is a belief. It is not a scientific truth. All human beings are equal. That is only a belief. It is not an empirical fact. This universal value came to us from God of the Bible. So the foundation came first. The source came first. The foundation is God. Okay, that is important. God is the foundation. His nature and his moral laws formed the foundation of our values. For example, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. It starts with the words, the laws of nature and of nature's God. The laws of nature and of nature's God. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The human rights we have of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness are endowed by our Creator God. They are not given to us by our government or by our forefathers or by our philosophers like Henry David Thoreau. As I said before, human beings cannot be the source of human rights. It is like a wine tasting program. If you go to a wine tasting program, you would see 200 bottles of wine, different wines from all over the world on tables. Then people go and start tasting them. One guy goes, takes a bottle and tastes the wine and says, "This is the best wine in the world." Then another guy takes the same bottle, tastes the wine and says, "This is the worst wine in the world." One girl tastes a wine and says, "Oh, this is so good." Another girl tastes the same wine and says, "Oh, this is bad. I don't like it." So human beings cannot be relied to define what is good and what is bad. Only God can tell us what is good and what is bad. So only God can be the source of objective, universal moral values. We cannot be the source of objective, universal moral values. The West is not the source of objective, universal moral values because the West is not one voice. The West is not monolithic. America gave us both Martin Luther King Jr. and also Ku Klux Klan. If God does not exist, we cannot say Martin Luther King Jr. was objectively good and Ku Klux Klan is objectively evil. Some Americans admire Martin Luther King Jr., while some Americans also admire the Ku Klux Klan. Some Europeans love Hitler. Some Europeans hate Hitler. So the West is not the source of these values. The Greeks and Romans did many great things, but they did not believe in universal human equality. They believed in limited equality. Only Greeks were equal among each other. Only Romans were equal among each other. They did not believe all human beings all over the world, across all ages, were equal to one another. Similarly, in Hinduism, equality is limited to the caste. You are equal to members of your caste, not to the members of other castes. The Greeks had democracy, but it was limited only to the rich and powerful. Christianity helped to universalize democracy. The Romans had a rule of law, but it was limited to Roman citizens. Christianity universalized the rule of law. So in Christian worldview, in biblical worldview, God is the foundation. He created one couple, Adam and Eve, and we are all their children. He created us in His image. All those great values Mr. Maher cited came from this Judeo-Christian worldview. Atheists like Mr. Maher try hard to put these values on an atheistic foundation. The problem is Darwinism does not teach equality. It does not teach us to be colorblind. There is no justification for human equality in Darwinism. Thankfully, not every atheist was like Mr. Bill Maher. Some atheists wrote scholarly books emphasizing the role of Christianity in giving us human equality and other great Western ideals. Let me just give you two others, Friedrich Nietzsche and John Gray. Friedrich Nietzsche actually grudgingly acknowledged that Christianity is the source. In his books like Gay Science and Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche passionately wanted us to destroy God of the Bible because he was the source of human dignity. He was the source of human equality. Nietzsche's ideology gave birth to postmodernism, which gave birth to wokeism. Also read John Gray's book, Seven Types of Atheism. This atheist scholar describes how Christianity was the source of great Western ideals. He describes how atheists take Christian ideals, then secularize them and make them stand on Darwinian foundations. Bill Maher is doing the same. He says Martin Luther King Jr. followed Henry David Thoreau's civil disobedience. He conveniently forgets that Martin Luther King Jr. was a Baptist preacher who would quote a Bible verse or a biblical metaphor in almost every speech he ever gave. Bill Maher mentioned John Locke. Remember, John Locke was inspired by the Bible. Read an essay concerning human understanding, books 1 and 2. God was the foundation of his thought and ideology. Not everyone has been bought into this myth. Contrast Mr. Bill Maher with Ayan Hirsi. She was a Somalia-born Muslim woman. After facing so much oppression, she left Islam and became an atheist. She was called a child of secular enlightenment. But after much study and insight, she realized that Christian faith is the true foundation of every great ideal that came from the West. Now she says she is a Christian. So from Islam to atheism to Christianity. So my answer to your question is, Bill Maher is right when he defended the ideals of the Western civilization. We all should defend those values because they came from the Bible. But he is wrong when he traced them to secularism, because secularism does not give us any values. Okay, certainly the values like equality are human rights. All right, folks, please visit our websites.